This is my review of Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, this movie is really hyped up. Two, two monsters from the Monsterverse that everyone loved, Godzilla and Kong, both of whom have their own fan bases, are finally facing off against each other in this movie. Now, my main problem with it is Kong doesn't stand a chance against Godzilla. I mean, as tough as Kong is, he's a giant monkey. And Godzilla is a giant reptile with scales. And he has, most of all, the biggest problem is he has an atomic breath. I mean, just one shot directly at Kong and he would be dead. His body would burn. I mean, he's basically similar to humans that way, since he's a monkey. So just one attack would probably kill Kong. Yeah, so the plot never really made sense to me. Because they show it off as Kong fighting against Godzilla as somewhat equals, but they're not even close. I mean, King Ghidorah is more like King Ghidorah is an equal to Godzilla, but Kong, no. Now in this movie we have we see Kong's being transported out of Skull Island because he's getting too big, and Godzilla senses that he's left the island and goes after him because Godzilla is trying to defeat any rival Alpha Titans. And you see Godzilla and Kong fighting on a giant ship, which also doesn't make sense since the ship, there's no way the ship can handle that much weight, it sure sunk. But for the plot, you see them fighting on the ship. Kong gets a few good hits in, but Godzilla wins. He has the atomic breath. He can't beat him. So yeah, well, you see Godzilla win the first fight and think Kong's dead and leaves. And then you see Godzilla searching for something. Now apparently in this movie, they create Mecha Godzilla using King Ghidorah's brain. So basically they make a mechanized version of Godzilla, which is as big as Godzilla and can use lasers and all that. Now that's in the background for the moment. Now, after Kong gets defeated, he goes the inner part of the earth, and I forgot the name, and he finds out that there were other Kongs before him, and they fought a war with Godzilla. You see carvings about that, and you see an axe that they don't exactly explain, but I think it was forged from Godzilla's scales because it can absorb radiation. And he takes the axe and he comes back to the earth after Godzilla blows a hole into the surface of the earth, which shows how powerful his breath is, which even further proves my point that Kong now stood a chance against him. But now Kong has an axe and he decides to go around to fight with Godzilla again. And this time he has a slight advantage because the axe he uses is able to absorb Godzilla's radiation, and he gets a few hits in. And he gets one good hit in which knocks Godzilla on his back and he falls down unconscious. So technically the second round goes to Kong, but I don't think it counts because Godzilla gets back up right away. And then he completely beats the shit out of Kong, and Kong's almost left for dead. Now at this point in the movie, the mechanized version of Godzilla shows up, and Godzilla fights him, and Godzilla gets outmatched by a robot. Now, I don't buy that part either. Sure, the mechanized Godzilla can shoot lasers and all, but still, Godzilla's really strong. He should be able to easily rip him apart. Maybe it's because of his back-to-back fights with Kong that he doesn't have the strength to. Sure, I guess it could call that, but still. Now, mechanized Godzilla gets the upper hand. He fights Godzilla, which destroys the city. And he was about to kill Godzilla. And then the humans in this movie, oh yeah, there are some humans in this movie, I don't really care much to talk about it, but they managed to revive Kong because his heart basically stopped or slowed down. And then there's a little girl that communicates with Kong in this movie. She's basically friends with Kong. She's from Skull Island, and she tells him that Godzilla isn't the enemy. And so Kong teams up with Godzilla and fights Mechagodzilla. But even then, they seem outmatched. 2 against 1, and still the giant robots beating them? Come on, that's a little too much. I don't buy it. But that's what happens in the movie. And they can't seem to beat him because he has lasers and missiles and a tail that spins and can jab into you. And then Godzilla somehow figures out to power up Kong's axe. It's very intuitive of him. Didn't expect that, but he powers up Kong's axe and it becomes strong enough to break Mechagodzilla. And so Kong tears Mechagodzilla apart with the axe and then rips his head off. And then he beats him, basically. Mechagodzilla's dead, and then Kong and Godzilla come into mutual understanding of some sort, in a way a monsters could, I guess. They scream at each other, and Godzilla just goes back to the ocean, and Kong decides to go to the Hollow Earth. Yeah, it was the Hollow Earth. Forget about the name. And yeah, so that's the end of the movie. Now, in terms of action and seeing Godzilla and Kong fight, it was entertaining. Now, the fact that Kong was able to stand up to him isn't that believable, but they did it in a good way. They both fought each other a few times. It's a Godzilla vs. Kong movie, so the minimum 3 fights was necessary, and they did it. And then they teamed up together to defeat Mechagodzilla. So basically, they no longer have any personal issues with each other, hopefully. And they go their separate ways. Now, it's an entertaining movie overall. It's a good watch. Yeah, so that's my review of Godzilla vs. Kong.